After 15 years in landscaping and garden design, I can walk onto a patio and know within 30 seconds whether it's going to hold its value or start looking dated before the next summer rolls around. The difference usually comes down to a handful of choices people make without realizing the consequences. A pergola nobody sits under, a built-in grill that's been cold since last August, a furniture set that looked great in the showroom and reads like a hotel lobby in the backyard. The problems aren't always expensive to fix, but they are easy to miss. One feature on this list is being pushed hard by contractors right now as a luxury upgrade. It's the one I see abandoned fastest, and we'll get to it at number 1. Let's get started, counting down from 10. Number 10. Cheap solar lights everywhere. Walk around any neighborhood on a summer evening and you'll spot the same thing. Plastic stake lights lining every edge, tipping slightly, glowing with that yellowish flicker that looks fine in the product photo and looks cheap in person. I worked on a backyard renovation where the homeowner had 37 of those lights. On day 1, she loved it. 3 months later, half had stopped working. The solar panels lose charge capacity fast, especially through overcast winters. The ones still going had faded to a dim amber that made the whole space feel like a campsite rather than an outdoor room. Here's what's happening. Budget stake lights are rated for around 100 to 200 charge cycles before degradation kicks in. In a climate with consistent sun, that means daily charging and real deterioration within a year or two. Light output on most of these runs between 5 and 15 lumens, barely enough to cast a shadow. The better approach is layered lighting with fewer, more intentional sources. A low-voltage path light at 50+ lumens, a wall-mounted lantern with a 2700 Kelvin warm white bulb, string lights strung on a proper catenary wire above the dining zone, not draped loosely post to post. That combination creates depth. The stake light grid creates a border that reads builder grade before you've sat down. Start with 2 solar wall lights at eye level, IP65 rated, minimum 15 lumens. That shift alone changes how the space reads after dark. And if the lighting is making your patio feel flat, wait until we talk about what the furniture is doing to it. Because number 9 is a mistake that even people with good taste fall into, and it starts the moment you walk into a patio furniture store. Number 9. Matching patio furniture sets. There's something seductive about a complete outdoor furniture set. Everything matches, everything arrives together. You don't have to think about whether the chairs go with the sofa, but that convenience is exactly what makes a matching set feel generic so quickly. I worked with a client who bought a full 9-piece wicker set in dark brown resin. Looked solid in the catalog. In the backyard, it filled the space like a waiting room. Every piece said the same thing in the same voice. And because of that, nothing stood out. The patio had no personality. It had furniture. The problem with matching sets isn't quality, it's uniformity. When every piece comes from the same mold, same material, same finish, same profile, the eye has nowhere interesting to go. It reads as mass production, which is fine inside a hotel lobby and wrong in a personal outdoor space. Current outdoor design is moving away from this hard. What works now is mixing materials and silhouettes deliberately. A powder-coated steel dining table with teak or timber chairs. A rattan sofa paired with a cast-iron side table, chairs in different materials at the same dining table, as long as the seat heights match within 25 millimeters of each other. The mix should feel collected, not scattered. The easiest starting point: keep whatever large anchor piece you already have, the sofa or dining table, and replace the accent. Chairs with something in a contrasting material. You don't need to start over. You need contrast. We've knocked out 2 quick wins, but the next one is bigger, because it's not about what you buy, it's about what you build. And once it's poured, it's there. Number 8 is about the slab itself. Number 8. One giant bare patio slab. Here's something most people don't consider when they're pouring a patio. A single large rectangle of concrete or pavers with no visual zoning, no level changes, no break in the material, reads less like an outdoor room and more like a parking area. The slab is there. The furniture goes on the slab. And despite spending real money, the yard still feels unfinished. The problem is that a patio without zones has no hierarchy. When you walk out the back door, you're just in a big empty rectangle. No sense of arrival at a dining area, no defined lounge corner, no indication the space was designed for living rather than just paved. The brain reads undefined space as transitional, somewhere to pass through, not somewhere to stay. An outdoor rug, at least 2.4 by 3 meters under the seating area, bordered by planters, creates a room-within-a-room feeling without breaking any concrete. If you're building from scratch, think in zones first. A 9 by 12 meter slab with no subdivision is wasted potential. Break it into a 4x5 dining zone and a 4x4 lounge zone with a planted border between them. Same square footage, 3 times more intentional. Big open patio, no greenery, no shade, and that leads directly into number 7, because bare hardscape has a specific look, and it's not a good one. Number 7, all hardscape, no greenery. I once worked on a renovation where the previous contractor had done a beautiful job on the paving. Bluestone, tight joints, well drained. But the client had asked for maximum low maintenance, so they went full hardscape edge to edge. On a hot day in mid-January, that patio was like standing on a griddle. The stone was absorbing and radiating heat. There was no softening, no shadow, no movement. The whole thing looked expensive and felt miserable. Here's the design reality. Paving without planting reads stark and industrial, regardless of the material quality. The eye needs the visual interruption of something organic, texture, height variation, something that moves. Without it, even beautiful stone looks like a car part. Designers have been pushing back against hardscape-heavy outdoor spaces for good reason. A paved patio with no greenery also raises the ambient temperature of the space by 3 to 5 degrees Celsius, compared to a patio with even moderate planting alongside it. That's not just a comfort issue, it affects how often the space gets used. The fix doesn't require ripping up pavers. 2 large planters in the 600mm plus diameter range positioned to frame the entry to the lounge zone, a low hedge or ornamental grass row along one edge, climbing plants on a trellis or fence behind the seating area. Even a single mature tree in a raised planter bed creates canopy that changes the feel of the whole space. If you're adding planting, think in layers. A taller background element, a mid-level texture, and something low at the paver edge. That 3-layer approach is what separates a planted patio from one that just has a pot sitting in the corner. If you're making it this far, you're already ahead of most homeowners on this. And number 6 is the kind of thing people overlook because it seems optional, until a summer afternoon reminds them why it isn't. Number 6, no shade feature at all. A patio with no umbrella, pergola, canopy, or covered zone is a patio that gets used twice a year. That's not an exaggeration. I worked with a couple who spent about $22,000 on a complete outdoor dining and lounge setup. Stone paving, gorgeous furniture, planters, lighting, no shade structure. Their back fence faced due west. By 2 in the afternoon, from October through March, the afternoon sun made that space totally unusable. By the following summer, the furniture had faded noticeably, and the cushions had started to crack. The design problem isn't just comfort. A patio with no overhead element feels visually incomplete. It lacks the enclosure that makes a space feel intimate and intentional rather than just exposed. The best patios are designed to be usable, not just visible from the window. A pergola doesn't have to be expensive. A basic timber pergola over a 4x4 meter lounge zone using 90 by 90 millimeter posts and 140 by 45 millimeter rafters can run around $3,000 to $5,000 in materials for a competent DIYer, and immediately changes the spatial quality of the whole area. If you want coverage, add 50% shade cloth louvers. They block around half the direct sun while keeping airflow. If structure isn't in the budget, a market umbrella with a minimum 3-meter cantilever arm and a weighted base rated for winds up to 65 kilometers per hour will do. The job for under $800. Just check the UV protection rating. Look for 50 plus UPF, not 25 or 30, which is what most cheap umbrella brands are rated at. Shade sorted. But here's something most people don't consider. Even a perfectly shaded patio can feel dated the moment you look at the finish choices. Number 5 is about synthetic materials and the specific ways they age badly. Number 5, plastic-looking fall materials. This one cuts a wide category, so let me be specific. Shiny resin wicker that looks slightly sticky in daylight. Faux stone pavers in a repeating stamp pattern where you can see the mold seam. Outdoor furniture with a polywood finish that photographs fine and reads plastic at 5 feet. Composite decking in a gray that looks like it was produced in bulk for a school corridor. I walk onto patios with these materials regularly. The problem isn't always quality. Some composite decking is genuinely durable. It's the visual language. When a material is trying too hard to look like something it isn't, the gap between the real thing and the imitation becomes the dominant impression. The patio starts to feel like a set rather than a space. Within 3 to 5 years, most shiny resin furniture loses its surface sheen and develops a dull, chalky film from UV degradation. Faux stone stamped concrete typically starts to show color fade and stamp wear between years 2 and 4, especially in zones with direct sun exposure or foot traffic. By the time it looks bad, you've already lived with it for a while, so you stop noticing, but guests notice immediately. The alternative isn't necessarily more expensive. Powder-coated steel or aluminum is honest about what it is and holds up well. Teak or treated timber has real visual warmth and a grain that only improves with age. Natural stone doesn't need to look like anything else. It already is something. Rattan in a genuine weave reads completely differently from its resin imitation. The rule I use: if the material is trying to imitate something more expensive, it will always look like an imitation. Choose materials that are honest about what they are, and they'll look better for longer. And speaking of things that age badly, number 4 is a specific design choice that dominated for years, but has started to feel very dated, very fast. Number 4, harsh black and white finishes that hyper-contrasted palette. Charcoal gray stone against bright white rendered walls, black steel frames, white furniture was everywhere for about a decade, and it had a certain drama that worked. What happened is that everybody did it, and the more you see it, the more it starts to feel like a design decision made by someone following a trend rather than someone who thought about the space. The sharper issue is that high-contrast black and white outdoor finishes are brutal to maintain. White rendered outdoor walls show algae growth within 12 to 18 months in most climates, especially on south-facing walls with limited direct sun. Black powder-coated steel shows every water spot, calcium deposit, and scratch. The drama of the palette requires constant upkeep to stay dramatic. Without it, it looks tired very fast. Where design is moving right now is toward warmer neutrals. Warm off-whites, stone tones, terracotta, muted sage, and olive greens, aged timber. Surfaces that read as nature-adjacent rather than showroom-adjacent. Materials that look better with a bit of weathering rather than worse. If you've got that high-contrast palette and it's already installed, you don't need to rip it out. Add warmth through planting and textiles, cushions in warm terracotta or ochre, a timber element, even just a planter box or a side table against the dark frame. Those additions can pull the space away from trend-chased and towards something that reads more timeless. Number 3 is the one I most often have to explain to clients who want their new patio to feel like an extension of the house, because when you get it wrong, you get it really wrong. Number 3, a patio that fights the house. Picture a pale brick 1970s home with a warm timber interior, then out the back door, dark charcoal pavers, white rendered feature wall, black steel pergola. The patio looks fine on its own. Next to the house, it looks like it was dropped there from a different suburb. This is one of the most common expensive mistakes I see, spending real money on outdoor design without referencing the architecture it's attached to. When the patio flooring, furniture, and styling feel disconnected from the house, the eye catches the seam every time. The exterior looks pieced together rather than planned. It also affects resale. An outdoor space that reads as a coherent extension of the interior adds value. One that fights the house raises questions about the quality of the overall design. The fix starts with 3 checkpoints: floor tone, material, character, and color temperature. Patio paving should sit in the same warmth range as interior flooring. If the inside is warm timber and stone, the outside should be warm sandstone or buff pavers, not charcoal. Material character means asking whether the dominant materials in the house are rough or refined, industrial or organic, and matching that language outside. Color temperature means the whites and grays on your patio should match those on the exterior walls. Warm white on a warm-toned house, cool gray on a contemporary rendered one. None of this requires expensive materials. It requires intention, and that intentional thinking is exactly what's missing in the number 1 point, which is the one that surprises most people because it looks like luxury from the outside. Number 2, bulky fire pit tables. Would you still use a fire feature if it took up half your usable patio space and you had to rearrange 6 chairs every time you wanted to light? That's the reality of an oversized fire pit table, and I see them sitting cold on patios all over the place. The pitch is obvious. A large built-in or furniture-integrated fire feature looks impressive in a showroom. It promises evenings outdoors with a centerpiece glow. But in practice, furniture-sized fire tables are awkward to design around. A standard fire pit table runs between 1.2 and 1.8 meters in length, which is a real footprint for what is essentially a decorative element. On a patio of 5 by 6 meters, that's That's 20 to 35% of the usable area given over to one feature that can't hold drinks, can't be sat at for a meal, and usually needs a gas line. I worked on a renovation for a couple in their early 60s. They had a beautiful fire table, $4,400, installed gas, genuinely looked good. 18 months later, they told me they'd used it for time. The chairs around it were uncomfortable for long evenings. Leaning forward over a fire table is not how people naturally sit, and because it dominated the lounge zone, there wasn't enough room for the sofa configuration they actually wanted. The fire table became the thing everyone worked around rather than gathered around. What designers are moving toward is simple fire bowls on leg, 400 to 600 millimeters diameter, freestanding, movable. They create the same visual warmth and heat output as a table unit, can be positioned anywhere or stored away, and don't lock the rest of the furniture into a fixed configuration. If you want fire in the space, that's the move. We're down to number 1. This is the one that will genuinely make you rethink how you approach outdoor design from the ground up. Number 1. Oversized outdoor kitchens. Here's the counterintuitive thing about a huge, appliance-packed outdoor kitchen. It almost always makes a backyard look cheaper, not more expensive. A built-in grill, side burners, a pizza oven, a bar fridge, and stone benchtop sounds serious. It can look the part in a magazine shoot. In a real backyard, on a real budget, it's one of the fastest ways to make a property feel overbuilt and underlived. This is the upgrade. Contractors are pushing hard right now, and the clients I've seen invest $20,000 to $40,000 in a full outdoor kitchen setup are, more often than not, the same clients who barely use it 2 summers later. The outdoor kitchen locks a large portion of the patio into a fixed infrastructure zone. The benchtop and cabinetry typically run 3 to 5 meters along one wall. That wall is now permanently a kitchen wall, regardless of how you want to use the space. Stainless steel cabinetry oxidizes in coastal climates within 3 to 5 years without regular maintenance. If you're within a kilometer of the coast, you need 316 grade marine stainless, not standard 304. Anything less, and you'll see rust spotting within 18 months. Pizza ovens need the refractory cement resealed every 1 to 2 years. The bar fridge draws current around the clock. The running costs add up, and then the whole thing weathers in place. The deeper issue is behavioral. Most people grill on one burner. They use one prep surface. They don't need the infrastructure filling the wall. They need a quality freestanding grill, a weatherproof prep table, and some storage. A fraction of the cost, fully reconfigurable, and the wall stays open. If you already have an outdoor kitchen and you use it constantly, it's working for you. But if it's sitting cold more often than not, the space would serve you better with that wall open back up. Don't tear everything out. Pick the one thing that bugs you most and start there. Most of these are easier to fix than they look. My next video covers the outdoor design mistakes that hit resale value hardest. It's on your screen right now. Click it.